For more updates, click on subscribe and click on bell button for latest notifications.
Today, we're going to unlock one of the absolute most critical concepts in all of programming, Python flow control. If you've ever looked at code and felt like it's just this giant, confusing mystery, well, you're in the right place. This is the explainer that's going to make it all click for you. Okay, let's just dive right in.
To kick things off, let's ask a really simple question. How does a computer actually know what to do next? Honestly, I want you to think of computer code exactly like a basic everyday instruction manual. Imagine you're putting together a piece of furniture, right? You read step 1, you do step 1. You read step 2, you do step 2. A computer does the exact same thing with Python code. But, sometimes the instructions need to adapt or change based on what's happening.
And that brings us right to our core definition. Flow control is simply the set of rules that tells Python which lines of code to read next, which ones to completely skip over, and which ones to repeat. It's literally just the order in which statements are executed. You're basically giving the computer a tiny little brain so it can make decisions on its own. Now, if we don't give Python any special flow control, it behaves super predictably. If we just write 3 simple print statements, Python reads those instructions straight from top to bottom exactly like you or I would read a book. It prints line 1, then line 2, then line 3. Super simple. But what if we don't want it to just blindly read straight down the page? Well, we actually have 3 main tools to change that default top to bottom behavior. First, we have conditional statements, which are basically forks in the road. Then we have iterative statements. Think of those like putting Python on a merry-go-round. And finally, we have transfer statements, which act as emergency exits and skip buttons. So let's break these down one by one. All right, part 1, making decisions with if. So, conditional statements force Python to choose a path at a fork in the road, and it does this based on a simple true or false answer. It's kind of like saying, if it's raining out, take an umbrella, else wear your sunglasses. Let's look at a voting age example. We ask the computer, is the age greater than or equal to 18? If the answer is true, say the person is 20, Python runs that first block of code and prints, you can vote. But if the age is 15, the condition is false. So Python completely skips that first block, jumps down to the else block, and prints, you cannot vote. Now, to ask these yes or no questions, Python uses some special symbols. Check out that double equal sign. In Python, a single equal sign is used to just store a value. But a double equal sign, that's Python's way of asking a question. It's asking, is the name equal to Sunny? It doesn't actually change the name, it just checks it and then hands us back a simple true or false. But here's a really important question. How does Python actually know which lines of code belong to the if statement? Well, unlike some other programming languages that use all these messy curly brackets, Python relies on visual indentation, just empty spaces at the start of the line. When a print statement is indented, it's perfectly tucked inside that if block, kind of like slipping a piece of paper into a specific folder. But if you forget to indent, Python gets really confused and it'll actually throw an error. It's super strict about this visual grouping. Okay, moving on to part 2, multiple choices using elif. So, in real life, we usually have way more than just 2 paths to choose from, right? We handle this in code using a really clever little word called elif, which is just short for else if. Imagine we're trying to convert a number into a word. Python is going to check from top to bottom. Is it 0? No. Is it 1? No. Is it 2? Yes. And here is the crucial part. The exact moment Python finds a condition that is true, it prints 2. And then it completely stops looking. It just skips all the rest of the steps entirely. We can see this in action again with a favorite brand example. Python checks if the brand is RC. If it's not, it moves down and checks elif it's KF. If not, it checks elif it's boom boom. And then finally, at the very bottom, we have our else block. You can think of the else block as a safety net. It doesn't even have a condition to check. It just catches absolutely everything else if none of those above options turned out to be true. All right, part 3, the merry-go-round, also known as loops. So we've totally mastered making decisions. Now let's shift gears to repeating actions. In the programming world, we call this iterative behavior. But iterative is really just a fancy $5 word for automated repetition. Because think about it. Instead of typing out the exact same line of code 100 times, which would be awful, we can use an iterative statement. We just put Python on a little merry-go-round and tell it to execute a block of code over and over again, completely automatically. To really prove that a for loop is just automated repetition, let's peek under the hood for a second.
If we tell Python to loop exactly 5 times, it needs a way to track its progress. It does this using a little variable, usually called I. So in round 1, I starts at 0, and Python prints hi. In round 2, I updates to 1, and it prints hi again. It just continues this cycle, updating that I value every single time until it has finished all 5 rounds. Simple, right? But wait, how do we actually tell the merry-go-round how many times to spin? We use this brilliant little tool called the range function. It literally just generates a sequence of numbers for us. Now, range 10 gives us 10 numbers, but, and this is a big quirk in programming, it starts counting at 0 and stops before 10, so you get 0 through 9. We can also be super specific. Range 1, 21, 2 means start at 1, stop before 21, and jump up by 2 each time. That's a perfect way to find odd numbers. Or we can even go in reverse. Range 10, 0, -1 starts at 10 and counts all the way down. Now, we also have a second type of loop, the while loop. While a for loop runs a strictly set number of times, a while loop is different. It runs as long as a specific condition stays true. Think of it like eating dinner. While you are still hungry, take another bite. But okay, huge warning for beginners here. If you forget to update your condition inside the loop, like if you somehow never feel full, you will eat forever. In code, if you forget to increase your I variable, 1 will always be less than 5. That creates what we call an infinite loop, and it will literally freeze your entire program up. No fun. Okay, bringing us to part 4, emergency exits and skips. So what happens if our code is spinning on the merry-go-round, but we suddenly need to get off early? That's where transfer statements come in. The most dramatic one is called break. Break is your giant red emergency exit button. The second Python hits the word break, it completely stops the loop immediately. It doesn't matter what round you're on. Imagine you wrote a program to check passwords. Once the user finally types the correct password, you don't need to keep asking them, right? You just hit break and exit the loop entirely. Next up, we have continue. If break is an exit door, continue is just a skip button, like skipping a song on a playlist. When Python sees the word continue, it stops reading the code for that specific round and immediately jumps straight back to the top to start the next round. So, let's say you're looping through a list of numbers to do some division, but oh no, you spot a 0. You can't divide by 0, so you just use continue to skip that one problematic number and move smoothly on to the next. And finally, we have pass. Pass literally just means do absolutely nothing, temporarily. Now, why on earth would you want your code to do nothing? Well, because of Python's super strict indentation rules, you aren't allowed to have an empty if statement or an empty loop. The program will crash. So if you're just sketching out the skeleton of your code and you haven't written the actual logic yet, you just type pass. It acts as a structural placeholder so Python doesn't complain and crash your app. As we start to wrap this up, I want to share a concept that is so essential for beginners. Python does not magically understand your intention. It follows exact rules. Listen, the computer isn't thinking for you. It isn't trying to guess what you meant to do. It is blindly, flawlessly executing the flow control rules, the ifs, the loops, the breaks, exactly the way you wrote them. So if your output is acting weird or wrong, it's simply because your flow control is directing the traffic to the wrong place. But here's the exciting part. By mastering conditionals to make choices, loops to automate all that tedious repetition, and transfer statements to perfectly manage the flow, you now have everything you need to build really complex logic. You're no longer just blindly reading a manual, you are officially directing the traffic of your very own applications. The possibilities are literally endless. So the only question I have left for you is, now that you control the flow, what amazing instructions are you going to write next? Thanks so much for hanging out with me on this explainer, and hey, happy coding!
Please follow us on social networking sites. One is Facebook. The Facebook page name is @Linux Arkit. You can click on this button here and click like page so that you can follow us on Facebook. The next one is Instagram. Instagram page name is arkit.co.in. Click on follow button to follow me. And Twitter, if you have any questions on subject line, or if you have anything, you can just tweet me at @ravikumar48, so I will reply you most on the tweet back. For anything related, if you want the latest articles on my website, so here is my website details and email address details, you can reach me over here.